Hello again. My job is to teach women to sail. Of course, I see a lot and I think a lot, and now I'm going to tell you some of my thoughts. Many women, they take on a subordinate role on board the family boat, and the women, they do not steer in port, they do not service the engine, and they are not so interested in others of the boat's functions, such as the electrical system. Women mostly take responsibility for the navigation and the provisioning. And all these tasks are, of course, equally important, but the consequence of this division is that the man has the knowledge required to go out with the boat by himself, and the woman has not. And this division of roles is not necessarily due to the fact that the man absolutely wants to be the captain and do all decisions. Many times it just happened so. They may both love boat life and share the cost of the boat, but they have created a situation where she cannot use the boat when she wants. So, how did this happen? There are probably many reasons, but I think this is important. In most boating couples, the man is the more experienced. He may have started boating already as a child, and the woman's interest began when she met a man with a boat, and all her knowledge comes from him. But there are also women who have a boat on their own, and when they meet a man, he may have a larger boat, and then they decide to sell hers. Or he has no boat, they sail with hers, and eventually she gets pregnant. And then they decide to buy a bigger boat, and while she takes care of the small child, he learns to handle the bigger boat. And no one has really done anything wrong, but all these situations results in her becoming subordinate, in that he has a head start. So, how can this be solved? Well, both need to understand these mechanisms and pay attention to them. They need to decide from the beginning to take turns in doing the port maneuvering. Every other day, I would say, without exception. Because it is so easy to say, no, not today, it's blowing so much, I'm so tired, it is so crowded here, etc. And in addition, my experience is that docking skills fades away if you don't use them. You need to have it like in your fingertips. Before I bought Peristera, I rented a boat that has a bow thruster. And then I always used to let my participant do the docking, because with the help of the bow thruster, I could save a situation that was about to go wrong. But in the really tricky situations, both the participants and I thought that I should do the parking. And I noticed then that I had lost some of my docking skill when I did not use it that much. So park every other day, and then do the basic service of the engine together. If he is skilled enough to do engine repairs, well, of course, I don't mean that she must come to his level. But she needs to know how to change oil, filters and impellers. And this is not difficult. It does not take very long, and it is a first step to start feeling that an engine is not a mystery. Things happen inside the motor that you may not understand, but to know that the engine needs fuel, lubrication and cooling, and how that works, that is a good start. So, these two things, being able to take the boat in and out of port, and knowing the basic maintenance of the engine, that creates independence. The port maneuvers are the very precondition for being able to have a day on the sea. If you do not master the port maneuvers to some extent, you must stay on land. And if she can change the oil, filter and impeller, she will feel more familiar with the engine, and it will be easier for her to explain and ask for help if she knows where some of the engine parts are and approximately what is happening there. He needs to understand that she can feel inferior and limited no matter how much he encourages her to become involved. I've heard many times that it is easier to come home and want to share the responsibility if you have taken a course. Because on the course you discover that one can do things in different ways, and she may realize that she wants to do something in another way. And she may even discover that he does not know everything. She can learn something new and then come home and tell him something new. So when growing her own platform of knowledge, she can start discussing with him in a new way. He also needs to get used to the idea that more may change than he has expected. Because as long as she stood back, he could decide everything on his own. Many men encourage their women to become more involved. But in their minds, she will be involved in the way to plan and solve problems that he has created. He may not be prepared for the fact that she may want to reconsider some. Of course, it would be easier if they both learn at the same time and take turns from the beginning. And then they do not end up in roles that can require quite a lot of work and discussion to change. But even then, it will not go by itself. The male dominance in the boating world is so overwhelming, and it can be hard to resist. For women, it takes some extra courage to maneuver in port with a large audience, wondering if she will manage the docking and whether they should run out to their boat and hang out more fenders. And for him, who loves the feeling of making an elegant docking, it can be hard to refrain from showing what he can do. And I say this because this is how I feel when my husband is parking sometimes, and I believe that men and women are alike. And he may even think that the audience might wonder why he does not park, like all the other men does. So creating a truly shared responsibility on board that requires work, routines, and constant discussions. And the reward, it is a genuine collaboration that develops the relationship and a more shared interest that makes boat life even more fun.